On Easter, I arrived at my parents' house, but they didn't ask me to leave. "Your sister shared the truth with us," they said, before shutting the door in my face. I felt a surge of anger and yelled that I would no longer cover her rent. Let her handle it herself. I had always believed that no matter how strained family relationships became, holidays were a chance to start fresh. An unspoken rule that, at least for one day, everyone would set aside their differences. You'd sit through awkward meals, force smiles during uncomfortable conversations, and leave relieved it was over. But this Easter shattered that belief. I showed up hoping things would calm down. 3 months had passed since the last big argument with my parents. Enough time, I thought, for tensions to ease. I convinced myself they were just emotional, misled, or confused. I believed that if I walked in with a peace offering, pastries from my mom's favorite bakery and a bottle of red wine my dad once praised, we'd find our way back to normal, even if we never addressed the past. As I pulled up to the house, everything looked unchanged. The flower beds were neat, the porch furniture untouched, the wind chimes still hanging. Yet something felt off, not a gut feeling, but a quiet awareness, like forgetting where the light switch was in a familiar room. I rang the doorbell, standing there awkwardly, holding the wine like a door-to-door salesman. The door opened a crack, revealing my father's face. No warmth, no recognition, just exhaustion where pride once lived. "Leave," he said. Then he added, "Your sister told us everything. We know who you really are." Before I could ask what he meant, the door closed. I stood there stunned, expecting it to reopen. It didn't. I knocked. No response. I rang the bell again. Silence. At that moment, I didn't feel hurt, just foolish. Then I raised my voice, declaring that if this was how it would be, fine. I wouldn't pay Madison's rent anymore. She could fend for herself. I left the wine on the porch and turned to go. That's when the door swung open again. Madison rushed out as if she'd been waiting behind it, listening. She didn't speak, just stepped outside with her phone in hand, as if recording. Maybe she expected me to explode on camera, but I refused to give her the satisfaction. I got into my car and drove off. I didn't head home. I drove aimlessly, windows down, no music, just my thoughts, trying to unravel what lies she'd fed our parents to make them shut out their own son. I knew she'd lied. This wasn't new. Madison had always been the golden child, the perfect, fragile daughter who needed protection. If she broke something and cried, I'd be punished. Nothing ever changed. This time, she'd told them I stole her money, forced her to hand over hundreds each month, and threatened to kick her out of the apartment I'd let her live in rent-free. She claimed I belittled her, saying she'd be nothing without me. None of it was true. Not a word. But the terrifying part wasn't her lies. It was that our parents believed her. Like always. What I didn't expect was what happened next. 2 days later, I received a message from an unknown number, just a photo. Madison, at a fancy brunch, raising a glass with strangers. One of them wore my limited edition hoodie, the one that had vanished months ago. Then I noticed the background, my apartment balcony. I hadn't been there in over a week. I thought she was lying low, but she was throwing parties with strangers in the place I still paid for. That's when it hit me. This wasn't about lies. It was revenge. Something deeper, something she'd been waiting to unleash. I remembered a heated argument months ago, something I'd said, almost forgotten. But she hadn't. This was deliberate, planned, and it wasn't over. The photo haunted me. Madison grinning with strangers, drinking mimosas on my balcony like she owned it. My hoodie on some guy who looked way too comfortable. It wasn't just betrayal, it was arrogance, disrespect, as if she wanted me to see it. That night I went to the apartment unannounced. I still had the keys. I'd never thought to take them back. That was my mistake. I arrived around 11 p.m. The lights were on, music blaring, some generic pop song shaking the walls. I parked across the street and watched. The place was packed. Too many people. I walked in like I owned it, because I did. The scene was a disaster. Beer cans everywhere, a scarf taped over one of my framed posters, doodles on the walls. A guy was passed out on the living room carpet. Another tried lighting a joint in the kitchen with a candle. 2 girls were taking selfies in my bathroom, using my toothbrush as a prop. No sign of Madison. Yet. I turned off the music. People stared, suddenly aware they weren't supposed to be there. One guy demanded to know who I was. "I'm the one whose name is on the lease," I said. The room fell silent. I grabbed a trash bag and started clearing bottles. Everyone else shuffled out, muttering like I'd ruined their fun. 10 minutes later, Madison arrived with takeout and a new group of friends. She took in the scene, saw me, and didn't flinch. "What are you doing here?" she asked, as if she hadn't done anything wrong. In her mind, this was her right, like the apartment was hers by default. I didn't argue. I just told her to pack her things. She had 48 hours. Then I changed the locks. She didn't protest. Not yet. She just smirked and said, "I hope you're ready for what comes next." And here's the part I didn't expect. The next morning, my bank called. No fraud alert, just a flagged wire transfer. $10,000 had been moved from an old, barely used account to an app I didn't recognize. Guess who had access? Madison. She wasn't just trashing my place, she was draining my funds. I froze the account, contacted a lawyer, but it was too late. The money was gone. She ignored my calls. The message was clear. This was war, and she'd fired the first shot. After freezing the account, I barely slept. Her words, "I hope you're ready for what comes next," echoed in my mind. At the time, it didn't sound like a threat. Now it did. I spent the next day cleaning the apartment. 2 trash bags later, I found a broken shelf and realized someone had stolen the TV remote. Just the remote. For some reason, that annoyed me more than anything else. Madison hadn't responded to any messages, not the lockout notice, not my lawyer's emails, not even my late-night taunts. Then came the email. The subject line was just my full name. Inside, a Dropbox link, no text, no signature. I clicked it. Curiosity won. The folder contained screenshots of private messages between me and an ex from years ago. Nothing illegal, but enough to damage my reputation if taken out of context. Petty rants, a joke about my boss, a photo I thought was gone forever. Beneath the screenshots, a single line. "Let's see if your job likes this version of you." That's when I realized this wasn't about money or rent or even recent grudges. This was years of resentment, piled up and weaponized. I scoured the files, trying to trace how she'd gotten them. Most weren't directly from me. She must have hacked my laptop or cloud backups, or someone had helped her. Then I found an audio file. I listened 3 times before accepting what it was. A spliced recording of me talking to my mom months ago, edited to make it sound like I was threatening Madison, demanding money, mocking her. This was the proof she'd given our parents, the lie that made them slam the door on me. It wasn't just manipulation, it was calculated. The final blow came when my key fob stopped working at my apartment building. The manager said access had been revoked. Madison had presented a fake lease, forged under my name, and claimed I'd transferred ownership. Worse, she'd gotten a restraining order against me. I was locked out of my own home. The manager refused to speak to me in person, citing an ongoing lawsuit. That night, I found the restraining order in my email, real, filed in court, with my name on it. Her testimony was a web of lies, fake audio, a blurry photo of a bruise, probably from bumping into furniture, and claims I'd threatened her life for money. She didn't just want revenge, she wanted to erase me. I stayed in a cheap hotel while my lawyer fought the order. I didn't tell anyone, just kept working as if my life weren't collapsing. That lasted 5 days. Then the leak. Madison sent the screenshots to my job, mutual friends, even a local Facebook group. My name was dragged through the mud. HR put me on leave, pending investigation. I knew it was over. 2 days later, my lawyer called, half laughing. Madison had filed for conservatorship, claiming I was unfit to manage my finances due to emotional instability. She was trying to legally take control of my money. It was absurd but terrifying in its audacity. Then, a glimmer of hope. My lawyer noted Madison was overconfident, like she thought no one was watching her. That's when I realized maybe someone was. My dad had been silent through all of this. No texts, no calls, unlike his usual habit of sending Bible verses after fights. I called him from a blocked number. He answered, hesitant, and said, "You have to stop asking questions. You're making it worse." For whom? That's when I knew. He wasn't fully on her side. He admitted some of Madison's proof felt off, but my mom wouldn't listen. That crack in his resolve was the first sign things might turn. Days later, I got a message from Vanessa, my ex, the one from the leaked DMs. "You might want to check who's been texting me from your number," she wrote. The attached thread showed creepy, threatening messages, all spoofed to look like they came from me. Madison had faked them, building a fake pattern of harassment. Then my mom texted, "Why did you break into our house?" I hadn't, but someone had. The garage window smashed, tools scattered. Madison blamed me, using it to strengthen her restraining order. Finally, the tide turned. The condo manager discovered Madison had forged a notary stamp, a felony. Security footage showed her impersonating me in the office. The building filed a police report. My lawyer compiled the evidence: fake messages, edited audio, the Dropbox leak. It all pointed to fraud and harassment. Then, a twist. One of Madison's brunch guests was the ex of a tech-savvy friend she'd burned. He anonymously sent me proof of how she'd spoofed my number and hacked my accounts. 6 months later, the restraining orders were lifted, the case closed. Madison vanished. I returned to my condo, working remote gigs, trying to move on. Then, a handwritten letter arrived. No return address. Madison claimed someone was stalking her, vandalizing her car, breaking into her apartment. A note read, "Hope it was worth it." She ended with, "I don't expect forgiveness. I just don't want to end up in the ground." I didn't reply. But 3 nights later, a sticky note appeared on my door. "You protected her once. How far will you go this time?" No cameras caught who left it. Madison texted back when I asked if someone else might target her. Yes. I thought he was out of my life. Now I'm left wondering, who else has she wronged? And am I still a target or just collateral in someone else's revenge? If you enjoyed this story and felt the emotions behind it, don't forget to give it a like, share it with others, and subscribe to the channel for more real-life experiences and heartfelt stories. Your support means the world, and it helps us bring more content like this to you. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.